Hey, hello, and welcome to a little IG Live chat. I'm here in Uptown in Chicago on a chilly day. You can see the snow out there, isn't this crazy? I'm at the amazing Eric Romano's house who just gave me body work, and I'm so grateful. So, I'm a little sleepy and puffy and well needed. Hi Meg, hi everyone. I'm here today to talk about the upcoming Pussywolf show that Fran Fattel and I have going on with the theme break, The Cycle, and Lucid Dreams has joined. Lucid is one of our featured performers. So this year, this is our third Pussywolf, and we are I'm just so thrilled to produce with Fran every year because it is something to be. And here she is. Does so much good work in the world, and so this is Fran's. Here you are.
Hello.
Hi.
I haven't done
How
one
are you?
of these in a while.
I know it's been a minute, huh?
I am good. Just getting, settled. Mama Doreen is here.
Mama Doreen.
How are you?
Good. I received some epic body work from Eric Formato, so my brain is like,
Almost in the perfect place. I know, I can see it in your face. It's
I
great.
know, it's like a little bit puffy, and I'm trying to get the camera up. Okay, cool. Yeah, how are you?
How am I? So many levels at once, but mostly grateful for support, like lots of body support with my ever-changing body right now.
Mm-hmm.
Also had a body session earlier, so yeah, doing okay, taking it one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so pregnant right now.
Oh yeah, you can't see
Oh yeah.
in the screen, but
Uh-uh.
30, 30. It'll be 31 weeks on Friday.
That's so
Yeah,
crazy.
it's kind of like, yeah, before it was like, oh, okay, this is new, and then it's like, wow, okay, this is my new reality. Like,
Yeah.
pregnant, you can't be like more pregnant than being pregnant, but I feel very pregnant. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not, but yeah, I feel very pregnant right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're pregnant or you're not, but like there's a lot of like late stage pregnancy happening where it's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, Meg Feigel's on here. I don't know if you met
Yes,
Meg. He did the Pussy
Meg.
Met. Yeah. So Meg's gone on that mama journey
I
too.
know we were talking about her journey of she's been so lovely reaching out. Thank you, Meg. I love you. And I remember her piece in the Pussy Magic. Was it
Mama
2 years ago?
bird.
2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. So
3 years ago? 3 years ago.
yeah, she was in the first year with us, and then she did it the second time, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Mama Bird was the second time, so it was two
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I love you too. But yeah, it's interesting because related to the show and just in general, like being in my body right now and being a dancer my whole life, and then now kind of feeling limitations in different ways that I have before. Like literally, my
Mhm.
core is full of another human. It's like just bizarre and wild and amazing and terrifying. And I can't do some of the things or a lot of the things that I'm used to being able to do.
Yeah.
And my dear friend Lauren, who has long COVID, and she makes the kind of metaphor of the chronic illness community and how like pregnancy is somewhat. I'm not making that direct comparison, but it's somewhat compared to like you have to just take it one day at a time and meeting your body in a way that you can with compassion every day.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so my dance will be very simple, but along the lines of breaking the cycle of my mother line and becoming a mother and all of that.
Yeah. Do you want to expound on that? Because I know that's a big reason why I'm eager to talk to you about it today. Because when we decided when we decided to do this, you're like, I'm gonna be so pregnant, and I'm like, I'm gonna be just moving. We're like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it was it was so inspiring to hear where you were coming from with the break the cycle and the motherhood. Um, so what really resonates with you now, being so pregnant and about to
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that this is something that I've prepared for my whole life, like taking the journey into motherhood without really knowing it, like being in the healing industry or being in that business. I'm always thinking about ways to heal and break patterns that don't serve me and facilitating that for other people. So I'm constantly like in that mindset already, but now it's very much in my face as being on the precipice of bringing another human into this world. And it's like facing some of my patterns around scarcity and shame and like victimhood that could be mine, or, and most likely, it comes from the cycle that's been passed down, right? Like whether
Mhm.
it's epigenetics or my parents, my mother in particular, um, and just not wanting to continue that. Like I want it to stop, you know. And the more that it stops with me, and I think the a lot of it is self-compassion and knowing that perfection is impossible, but what we can
Mhm.
have is awareness and sensitivity and trusting in the evolution of consciousness of like, okay, I have done a lot of work. You know, a benefit of also being older as an older mom.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just been kind of like I feel trusting of all the work that I've done, and
Mhm.
it's completely a mystery. You know, I have no idea. Like I can kind of see what it will be like as a mom, but I have no idea what will happen. But even
Mhm.
that practice of like approaching the unknown, approaching the mystery, it's a practice, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a practice in deep trust.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, and just some shit around body stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
been this big in my life,
Mhm.
and obviously it's okay. But the conditioning is
Mhm.
so real. The conditioning is like deep in there, and
Mhm.
just looking at myself. And so being on stage, and it's like that's in and of itself feels revolutionary every time, and I need to remember that. And then being in the body that I'm in this moment and claiming that,
Mhm.
and being in my erotic, you know,
Yeah.
still as a pregnant human, it's like, oh, can I be a sexual being and also pregnant at the same time? It's like, duh. But it's such a dance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meg commented on here, if I can read this, because it's feels pertinent, that you'll be meeting not only your new babe, but the next iteration of you too. And I feel like that, um,
Yes.
from talking to many other mamas and watching the journeys, it's a journey to be in that erotic and be in that mother and be in that birthing. Um, and as Meg says, is be as multidimensional as you want to be. And I really see you flowing with that and finding the different facets perhaps of the erotic, uh, to I suppose also break that cycle of the like mothers are only mothers, but it's very human and
Yeah.
very important
Yes.
to feel that life force,
Yes.
especially as you're in a very like fresh relationship and getting married, so in the honeymoon phase too.
You know, there's a little bling.
Show us.
I'm totally, I never thought I'd be one of those people, but I just, yeah, speechless. Like there's so much there, but it's so beautiful and so perfect, and I'm very grateful.
Mhm. Mm.
I
E.
know. What a ride. Holy shit. It's kind of
Right?
like everything that I've always wanted. It's like also a lesson in receiving,
Mhm.
receiving. Can I receive? Yes. It's an edge. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an edge. I agree. And so what I I feel some things weaving together, right? With the concept of pussy wolf, of the she wolf, like the fierce protectress mother wolf, this like feminine energy, the pussy as a life force in itself, right? As a concept of balance to whatever big dick energy is, or just dick energy.
Sorcery, dick
Dick
sorcery.
sorcery, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but then these themes of trusting the mystery, because the womb is a metaphor for the mystery, for the great creative chaos that is possible in this world. And so trusting that mystery to form and create and do its magic without having to go into the structural, the linear, the pointed, the doing so much, but the surrendering and receiving, as
Yes.
you said too. And I think that's a facet that you and I are both very passionate about
Yes.
sharing and embodying, which is the reason why I love you so fucking much. I just swore on the internet.
Please swear. Are they gonna kick us off? Who cares?
I hope so. I mean, they already kicked me off Facebook.
Oh,
Um,
I can't
but
handle.
there's this, like, I receive like feedback, comments very often about how just living life in this way, in practicing surrendering and being vulnerable, trusting in the mystery, following these creative impulses is really inspiring for others out there. So for you, like you've inspired me so much doing what you do with She Wolf and just like your life and your practice. And I also see this as a ripple effect. And I want to remind all of our artists who are tuning in, there's so many of our Pussy Wolf humans tuning in right now. It's cool.
Hi, Gabby.
Um, yeah, Gabby and Jane and
Dame.
Dame
Dame.
and
Yeah.
Margot. So it's cool. Oh, and Marla's here too. But it's really um, the the impact that we don't see that happens and reverberates out and just like ripples, I think
Mm,
is you can't measure it. And that also goes into this, I think, deep femme, this yin
yes.
practice of releasing. Like you can't measure it. There's no way to really track
Right.
it, but just trusting that everything that we do and how we live our lives actually matters and changes
Yeah.
those around us.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to collaborate with you always. And as you were the doula to usher in the erotic self that was definitely like waiting to burst forth and was hidden kind of deeper, but and just I agree with the feedback that you get of this is truly what you do and you walk the talk in that way,
Mhm.
and our work does overlap in so many ways, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful magic. And I do think that's why people they can't put words to it, but they can feel it. There's
Mhm.
this feeling, there's this deep sensitivity that is what the yin offers, or the feminine, and we
Mhm.
can't have it without the balance and the awareness also.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, what
Yeah.
for you, I'm curious, what is coming up for you as we approach the weekend? I know there's so much.
Mm. There's so much. Um, Gosh. Well, first, this is my last weekend in Chicago as a resident. Like, I don't actually know when I'm coming back. I will be back, but there's a lot of feels in there for me for that also. And Pussy Wolf will be my last show for a long time in Chicago,
Oh,
you know? And,
wow.
and so in being a performing artist, it feels very visceral. It's not my last time performing here. I know this. I trust the mystery of how it's all going to weave together, but it really marks a big it's a breaking of the cycle of me actually being a full-time performer here in Chicago,
Mm,
of leading a community space, of being in this like creative force drive doing mode that I've been in for so long.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so it's there's a lot that's coming up for me of like trust and digging through a lot of kind of like deep dark shit that I like have in my stuff and in myself, and the distrust I have in myself in many ways of like if I can do this, um, if I'm making the wrong decision,
mm,
like that's like there's just little hints of that, and I've gone through a lot of that this whole summer, and I think right now is the death throes of those thoughts where they like keep creeping in, but I'm able in so many ways because of this amazing community, and all of the people who inspire me and all the people whom I love and call my chosen family here are really helping me break that cycle of falling into those voices or questioning myself and what I'm doing
yeah,
so I can step into this new chapter. And so that's kind of this like ocean wave that I'm riding these weeks. Um, and then in
mm,
addition, just not feeling really prepared for it because I feel like it's just all happening so fast, which I'm sure you can relate to too,
oh
with
yeah,
pregnancy, with everything. It's like all we can do is just ride the waves and surrender and let it happen and get the things we need to get in order,
yes,
build the macro structures, and then just trust. Like we've been training for this our whole
yeah,
lives.
yes. There's so much
Mhm.
about art and creative practice that I think fellow artists will appreciate is that it truly is work and putting time into it, and
Mhm.
it's such a practice of trusting yourself, and then also at the same time like freaking the fuck out and being okay with like not knowing what's gonna happen or not being prepared enough, and it's okay, and that's what's beautiful about it. And I think the
Mhm.
space that we're trying to create with Pussy Wolf is exactly that, in terms of like it's all okay. Whatever you need to bring, you bring, and the container is solid, and whatever needs to happen within the container, whether it be on stage or in our bodies or the people standing in a metaphorical circle surrounding you, because you have such a beautiful, vibrant, supportive, loving circle around you, Gia, and
Mhm.
you've created that.
We both do. We all do.
Yeah, right. And
Mhm.
so like inviting people into that, and they're already a part of it, and they just, it's that constellation of like weaving in and out. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. It's yeah, it's so delicious to
Yeah.
witness that too, and like I was speaking to before that um the ripple effect of the inspiration, like we all inspire each other in so many deep ways, and we all support each other. And what I'm so grateful for within this amorphous community that we keep speaking to, and this circle, this ever-changing circle, is that we really get to embody that, and outside of a capitalistic way of valuation, right, or of monetizing things, and which happens. You have to buy a ticket to help us pay for the rent for the theater and the venue and our time and but like there's really this deeper level of human support that's think something worth investing in more so than anything else,
Yeah.
even like here or far. And that's in my mind a big reason why I think we're changing the world with our art. You and me and all of the artists who show up on these stages with this intention,
Yes.
like every single artist we have this year, every single artist we've had past years, and everyone who applies. I
Yes.
just want to give a big shout out to everyone who applied to Pussy Wolf also, because there's like we're literally changing the world just by ideating these things and thinking them and knowing that there is no timeline
Yes.
to what we're doing.
Yes. Coming together with a shared vision and the power of um, feeling met in that is so
Mm-hmm.
just palpable. I remember the first She Wolf 5 years ago. I was like, what? This is possible, even more. And then it's like evolved and grown in so many ways. And now this is an iteration of that
Mm-hmm.
in, a very specific way, but still very much aligned because the reclaiming of our erotic selves, I do truly think, is a lot of what the world needs. And
Mm-hmm.
erotic meaning depth of feeling, sensitivity, compassion in everything, not necessarily sexuality, but this feeling safe, feeling empowered in our bodies. And those are big words too, but just in
Right.
general, what we're trying to do here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I was just thinking that the metaphorical circle is with you no matter where you go. And even though you're moving on physically or somewhere else in the world, my teacher used to say, like, the dance has never stopped. It just gets smaller, as you move away. And then we dance together as we come closer. And then you go and continue the dance somewhere else with other people. And
Mm-hmm.
we become like lighthouses wherever we are, kind of
Mm-hmm.
spreading this energy. Yeah,
Yeah. Orbiting orbs.
exactly.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's so powerful. Um, which leads me to ask a question because we do have a whole bunch of pussy magicians on here and she
Mm-hmm.
wolves and pussy wolves. And so if anyone wants to pop in a question, let's see, a question about like reclamation
Mm,
or um, yeah, like remembrance or breaking the cycle. If you have any questions about that, or if you want to maybe make uh, like a seed statement that maybe you and I can riff off of that has to do with the work that you're making or things that you're thinking about in your lives. Um, that could be fun. Are you into
love
that?
that.
You want to play
Yeah,
that game?
of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm gonna just pop in here too. Meg says that our shared vision and cosmic magic is powerful. And
Mm,
I would also say the same about you, Meg, trusting in your mamahood.
yes.
Um, and then Anita, who's a dear friend of mine who lives in New Mexico, says feeling safe and empowered equals feeling open.
Yes.
And that's an interesting way. Safe and empowered allows us to open and say yes to life in a different way. Really. Hmm.
And coming back a little bit further up,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, Lucid Dreams says, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so important that even though the womb is a metaphor, but it is the physical, live reality that we're living and doing and moving and dancing. So it's metaphorical and live. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All of it. All of it. I mean, I think that this then also goes to our use of the word pussy in many ways, right? To put that in there, like the word pussy can be referred to as a physical, like a human organ, but it is also this, like this vortex of creation and eroticism and pleasure. Um,
Yes.
and pain can be, or just feeling. I think what you said earlier was at the depth of feeling. And so then the womb too has those metaphors attached to it, but is also, I think, has earned those metaphors, attached to those metaphors because of what's happening in your body right now. There's like, you have a juicy encounter, and then all of a sudden your body automatically makes a baby, like new life comes out. And I mean, how much are you thinking about that and like governing that
Zero.
process?
Zero. It's happening without any control at all. It just happened. Literally, it's like, here it is. Life comes.
Mhm.
Fucking wild. Fucking wild.
And so then how
We
can
do have
we,
we have a question that Jess put.
I saw, you want to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
What's the difference between reclaiming and just claiming for the first time?
Mm,
I have
interesting.
ideas.
You have ideas? You want to go for it?
Yeah, I think a word you just said, also remembering, is uh, where that reclaiming and remembering go hand in hand for me. It could be a claiming for that feels like the first time, and that's not, that still has its own power and absolutely fair. For me, the reclaiming is a remembering of something that has been there, but it has been squashed, boxed in, oppressed, hidden, scared, violently pressed away, or for safety also, like haven't felt the ability to come out. So there is this discovering or remembering, rediscovering of what was already there and what was there way back when we used to live more in harmony, for me, with the earth, with each other. And this idea of the feminine, again, the metaphorical sense, that's where she wolf comes from. It's the she is metaphorical, but also could be literal. Um, and so, yeah, it's kind of like feeling something deeper that's already been there all along,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that we don't need to reach outside of ourselves, that it's there already.
Mm-hmm. Mm, mm. I love that. I feel like you nailed it.
Thanks. I've
Right.
thought about it a little bit.
Yeah, because reclaim has been one of your, like, one of the she wolf, like,
Yes.
main core pillar concepts for quite a while.
Yes.
And
It comes from performance as therapy, the dance movement therapy lineage
mm,
that I'm a part of, uh, coming from a competition dance background in this world of judgment, as we talked about judgment and competition, literal competition and comparison, that my work has literally done a 180 in the opposite of, like, this not about comparison, it's not about competition or judgment. Of course those things can come up, but we have enough of that out in the world. Like, let's see if we can create a place
mhm,
that's more therapeutic. And so it's part of that, how performance in and of itself can be healing, and reclaiming is part of that.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. I feel like reclaiming too comes into the the metaphorical and literal action of like reclaiming pieces of ourselves, like you said, that we have gotten detached from in many ways, or even just reclaiming them in a way where we look at this greater oneness with the planet, with the universe, with everything that's ever existed. And so we don't need to claim it as ours, which I feel like is it's a very power over concept, right? Like a
Right.
colonial in many ways. Like, I'm claiming this for me, but it's like reclaiming it for the greater in certain ways. And you can reclaim it for yourself. And that's a way to do it within that lens of oneness, where like nothing has ever been destroyed or created within this. We're just constantly cycling through. So,
Right. Less of the individualism and more of, well, what I do does have an effect on other people. You know, it's like,
mhm,
yes, it can be for you and for your circles, your spheres, your communities, and it
mhm.
ripples out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Right.
The ripples.
The ripples. We have a comment from Dame. Do you want me to
Yes,
read it?
please.
There are few spaces to communally and ritually explore the yin feminine energy with emphasis on authenticity, and it's important to keep these avenues alive and open. She says thank you, with an emphasis on vulnerability also.
Yes, and this is
And
regardless of gender, regardless of
mm,
identity. This is
mm,
the energy that we're speaking to. Do men need that energy also? Absolutely.
mm. But
Or
as you
any
were
gender.
just saying, yeah, anyone, but as you were just saying, like there's so much emphasis on this competitive, very like young, structured competition, comparison, like building up, getting to the next level, which there's nothing wrong with either. It's just the scales are very tipped
Right,
towards the like the veneration of those systems,
right,
those the like the winning, getting ahead, getting above, achieving, rather than the deep exploration,
right.
which is I feel like the space that you and I are creating within this
Yes,
also. And so it's it's important. It's
yes,
cool. And so for those of you who are listening and part of this, Julie and I are tapping out for a minute. So keep these spaces alive. We're
yes,
passing the torch. We'll be back.
absolutely. We'll be back.
But
And we'll just be doing it in our own ways, our other
mhm,
iterations of Pussy Wolf. But please, yeah, keep it alive. If you resonate with this, come support what we're doing already. And
mhm.
it does ripple out. So please keep it alive because we need it. Oh my gosh, we need it.
The world needs it, especially, and I have been having an ongoing conversation, just touching into it with the state of the world and wars overseas. And I mean, just like the state of post colonial, very much still colonial, late
Yeah,
stage capitalist, like high racist America, and like what we can do and how we can take a stand without taking a side.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I feel like this is the way that you and I choose to really show up. And if anyone else out there doesn't quite know how to access, perhaps this could be a really good way to offer your gifts to the world and hold these spaces.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I often am an Aquarius, so I often feel overwhelmed with the state of the world and collective energy. And then my work lately, over the past couple of years, has been a lot about, okay, what can I actually do? What is within my sphere of influence? What is actionable? Um, and it comes down to, yeah, where I have power and privilege and where I can provide resources for other people, whether it is a performance like this or one on one with my clients or in larger spaces. So the microcosm as a macrocosm of the world I want to see and I want to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It often feels overwhelming. And if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, it's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with you. I would be surprised if you weren't feeling overwhelmed right now. And you may think like, oh, how can we be doing this and thinking about this at this time? It's like, well, life continues and we try to do our best and we show up.
Yeah. And I also feel really deeply about how the undercurrent of this work needs to keep happening because it's the groundwork for a different sort of paradigm, a different sort of way of being, and the power over of war and the hatred and the claiming for oneself, that happens, and the devaluation of human life in so
Yes.
many ways, right? And those terrors, I don't have to keep going on. Okay. But,
And
but like
a lot
doing
of
this
fear, a
is
lot of fear.
so much fear.
Yeah.
And like playing into that fear game is what they want all of us to do because it gives them power over us. And
Yes.
that's really real. And that's a tactic of the oppression or of oppression in so many ways. So being able to recognize it and even just opt out and be like, no, cool. I see that this is horrible, in whatever case it may be, but not playing the game and breaking the cycle, shall we? Let's poop it back, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, breaking the cycle of really get into that.
And I think it's gonna be, this is so cliche, but it's so true. We have to combat the fear with love. And it's not just a hippy dippy love. It's truly like practicing love, meaning if you notice that you're dehumanizing anyone, that is continuing the cycle and it's not breaking it. So putting humanity and compassion first, and it's love in action. It's not some passive thing that just happens. We have to actively love the people in our lives and reach out to them. That's where we got to start and live, and starting with ourselves too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loving ourselves, which is
Yeah,
not easy. It's not easy sometimes.
it's really hard. It's
Yeah,
really hard
it's
sometimes.
really hard.
It's really hard sometimes. And weaving back to the practice and the devotion that you mentioned earlier in this, like loving is a practice and decoupling oneself from the acts of non-love in many different ways that we've either been taught or have assimilated, or have been enculturated within it, like those practices of not loving, right? Or closing oneself down or inspiring fear or passive aggression in others. Like those are a lot of cycles that I'm really rooting out right now and trying to break and get out of, and recognizing that, like it takes a devoted practice to see where like I've shut down and have done things out of self-protection or
Right.
like habit or flowing with certain people who just normalize these things,
Right.
like treating other people in certain ways, and how like a practice that I'm doing, and I just share this so you all can do it too, and then message me later with how you're doing it because we got a group think here. I'm like looking into the little micro thoughts and words and everything that come out um, just like in the moments,
Yeah.
of when I feel unsafe or when I feel non-secure or when I don't want to open up into the frequency of love. I really feel like love is this opening, this yes frequency. It's like, when do we not want to do that? And how can we actively do the work to soften and trust into that, but then also listen to ourselves and discern the safety of the situation
Yes.
and all of it, but not just, like how do we love more? How do we find ourselves meeting the fear with love, which is, can I just say, harder? It's a lot harder
Yes.
than meeting the
Yes.
fear with fear or aggression.
It
So,
is. And it's over and over and over again, right? Because what you said, our psyches are built to protect us.
mhm,
And we need to acknowledge the ways that we've built up those protective factors because they're there for a reason. And so part of the cycle is the awareness of, oh shit, I've been in this cycle for a while. And we have to bring that awareness and then start to change. But
mhm,
the first step is kind of admitting, like, oh shit, this is how I've been operating and it no longer serves me. But
mhm,
we need to honor that, right? Like we come from that
mhm,
because, like the example I gave at the beginning of scarcity, I come from a very different, the generations before me, just that alone, they did have to survive. Those survival techniques were justified. And now
mhm,
I can allow those parts to soften and trust And that is a privilege, to be able to evolve past that. So
Mhm.
I could talk about this forever. So just cut me off whenever.
I
But
love
yeah.
it because I think it is really pertinent to a lot of the work and a lot of the pieces we have in Pussy Wolf this year. We have a lot of reclaiming the self and loving the self, the authentic self as it is, loving the authentic self as accepted by another, and seeing mirrors in others, in groups, like loving the different facets and iterations of oneself, um, outside of the constraints of like identity
Yeah.
of all different sorts and gender, and really loving our ever-changing selves as a mirror to love the ever-changing world,
Yes.
because we have to love the world as it is. We can't change it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can change it, but we can't change other people. We have to allow things to happen in their own time,
Yes.
And the
Yes.
activist part of me is like, did you just say that?
It's both. It's the both and, right? What we
Yeah.
have control over, which is not much.
Mhm.
Not much. Yeah, and we have some like epic kind of energies moving through the show too. We got some like yeah, life, death, birth, sex, you know,
Mhm.
lots of great material. And I do think it's if you're craving something, of that kind of depth and an opportunity to feel for yourself as well, come through.
Come through. There's virtual tickets too this year, and you have an amazing opportunity to come tune in from anywhere.
Yes,
So, hear that, Mom? You
it's
sitting there in Ohio? Bring your friends.
please come,
Hmm.
my little.
Yes. Hello, Joe. Look at that eyeball. Oh, cutie. Gabby asked a question.
Oh,
Shall I tap on it? I think it'll go into the main.
go for it. I
You
didn't see
ready?
get expression.
It was in
Yes.
a different spot.
Oh, I see.
It's funny. Yeah.
I see now.
So, Gabby asks, what has this process of creation brought up for you? Feelings, ideas, and actions. How do you use that moving forward?
Creation. I'm guessing maybe we could talk about the creation of the space instead of
Mhm.
unless you want to speak to your particular
Yeah,
act.
I love that. That's, yeah. I think in the spirit too of talking about creating the space with the energies of inviting other people to create spaces as such in their own way.
Yes. Well, a lot of for me again it's tuning into uh trust that this is um this is what the next evolution of my work is evolving into. I know I said evolution of evolving, but all these words, but pointing to like, okay, these are the spaces that I want to be a part of, and so I want to create it. I know
Mhm.
they exist and they're more on the fringes, they're more on the margins. I'm always interested in including people, like who is not being um who does not have the attention that they deserve or being seen or being heard. And
Mhm.
so personally, I'm always looking at that and
Mhm.
how can I use my power and privilege to help make that happen.
Mhm.
So it feels very aligned in terms of like feelings and the action of moving forward into creating the space, and producing is a lot. It's a lot, as some of you know, and it's worth it. Like I never kind of question. It's like now, yes, next year we don't know if it's going to happen again because life will take us in different ways. But the action of producing and taking those steps, a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, um, it's totally worth it for me. And remembering the mission, remembering the vision of what we're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
You're
Thank you, Julie.
singing.
I love JoJo's moans and growls in the background.
He is singing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, for me, this process of creation always brings up like the deep satisfaction and the necessity of wanting to exist within these spaces, and really believing that if you want to see something change, if you want to see something happen, you have to, or like, I want to embody the duocracy nature of that and be able to want it, so I create it, if I can't find it. There's so many, like, growing up here, not growing up here, but growing up in the Midwest and growing up in Ohio and being in Chicago during art school, in like 2005 to 2008. I didn't really see any of these communities. I tapped into the Burning Man community at one point, and I recognized that, like, I wanted that, but I wanted more, and or like the depth. I really wanted the depth, and I've found it in different ways. But I think that there's something so deeply satisfying about using the power of collaboration to create unique and individual spaces that do explore these deep concepts that allow us to evolve our spiritual, physical, and like mental and human capacities to find oneness within whatever we're doing, to find that like place for healing, for self-healing, and I appreciate working with you so much because I feel like it's really easy, and the actions that are needed to create the container, like, we really have them honed in over years, which just takes practice, and everyone has their
Yep.
own way of doing it, and there's so many correct
Yep.
ways to come to the same place. And so it has been also a blessing to find ways to use my power and my privilege that I have, to offer a gift of me and you and us to the world, to explore these things together, because there's so much that's not defined or definitive, but so much just like, how do we have this conversation and have a place where we really invite the voices who aren't, highlighted within like the mainstream, to have this conversation and to lead it in a lot of ways. So
Yes.
important. It's really
I
important.
feel the same way.
Mhm.
Ditto.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that question, Gabby.
Yeah.
Mm,
Right.
yeah. Well, on that note,
Yeah.
shall we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
shall.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much for everything you are, and I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. And I'll see you soon. Thank you
Collaboration is
everyone
a
for
love
tuning
practice.
in.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Thanks,
love
everyone.
that. Collaboration truly is, yeah.
It really is. Yeah. So, come to the show. Virtual tickets, if you can, pop a note out and invite other people to the show. You can share this live and maybe get more people into the conversation and to reverberating out this ripple effect. So cool. I love you. Love you, Anita. Love you, Jessica. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.